Hey everyone, Mitch coming in with the Crash Course Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Wizards, you are messed up. I just made a mistake right there. We're going to keep going because it's kind of funny. Wizards, you messed up. There we go. So, you messed up, not you're messed up. Let's jump into it. So, first up, not a messed up card, Bushy Bodyguard. We'll get to that one here in a little bit, okay? It's crazy. 2/1 Scroll Warrior 4/2 in green, Offspring 4/2. When this enters, you may forge. If you do, 2 counters on it. I mean, seems interesting and limited. Yeah, maybe a squirrel deck if you've got food in there too. And yes, the Offspring makes it so that, sure, you can have some decently powerful squirrels, but I mean, I guess total, right, if you paid all 4 mana, you would have 7 power across 2 bodies. Not too bad, but yeah, I mean, it seems more like a limited card. Next up, Fountain Point Bell, artifact for 1 mana, ETBs. You may search life for a base land card, reveal, put it on top of your library, essentially, after you shuffle. Pay 1 sacrifice to draw a card. Probably not good enough for eggs, because, I mean, you really don't care about actually getting a land on top, typically. Yeah, no. Next up, Glide Dive Duo, a 3/3 bat lizard flying for 5 mana in black. Enters each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Yeah, limited. Next up, Kittlespark Duo. Here we go. 1/3 lizard otter for 3 mana in red. Tap deals 1 damage to target opponent. Keep in mind, it is target opponent. That being said, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you untap it. So, yeah, those kind of like spell slingery type decks, those kind of like targeted damage type decks, group slug type decks as well. Ones that cast maybe a bunch of artifacts too. Could be a win condition. Could definitely be a win condition, a lot of those types of strategies. That being said, it is in some ways worse than some of its similar cards where they're like, hey, when you're casting it into a sorcery, untap this, but it does tap to ping every opponent, not just one. So yeah, it's better in some ways, worse in some ways in some of its comparable cards. Next up, Lunar Convocation, enchantment for 2 mana in Orzhov. Beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each will lose 1 life. Beginning of your end step, if you gain life and lost life this turn, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. And by paying 1 black, you can pay 2 life to draw a card. So, interesting that we're getting, like, a low-to-the-ground version. I mean, I guess, like, one of the Ereboses have that ability, essentially. I mean, basically, I mean, Greed is the kind of, like, similar card at that bottom part, but it's just a single black mana again for Greed with that 2 life and drawing. That being said, a life gain deck could definitely consider this one because, yeah, I mean, this can be very easily activated to drain your opponents quite easily with a life gain deck. And then also you can make some creature tokens as well by gaining and losing life, which again you can utilize on this card too. Yeah, so I'd say life gain strategies could definitely maybe consider it. Maybe aristocrat style strategies too, potentially, but there's probably a lot better cards to consider for that. And cards and decks that actually just want to lose life potentially could consider this as well. Yeah, I mean, utilizing it as like a card draw engine for you. Not all that efficient. I mean, it's not too inefficient, obviously, but yeah, it's an interesting card. Next up, Mind Spiral. Interesting when we get like a named card for a like previous block. Actually, this was Time Spiral. Maybe in the future we'll get Mind Spiral. Sorcery for 5 mana in blue. Gift a tap. Vanish target player draws 3 cards. If the gift was promised, tap target creature opponent controls. Put a stun counter on it. Yeah, I mean, for 5 mana, you should be drawing 4 most of the time, essentially. I guess it's nice that you can just like give one player a fish and then stun down another creature too. It's probably a more limited card. Could see play in decks that like have an abundance of spells that draw though. Moving on. Paw Patch Recruit. A 2/1 rabbit warrior for a single green mana, Offspring 2 trample. Whenever a creature control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, get a counter target creature you control other than that creature. Interesting. So this is again opponent controls. So it's not technically, was it Valiant? It's opponent controls spells or abilities. That being said, yeah. It's interesting. It applies to all your creatures, and if you Offspring this, then you're getting 2 counters every single time that happens. So it's kind of like a deterrent in a way. It's also a 2/1 trampler for 1. So yeah, low to the ground deck. A warrior deck might want to consider this. I guess rabbit tribal. And again, like any kind of, I mean, this doesn't fit in Brutaclad, but I should say like any kind of like Brutaclad type strategy where you're like, I care about creature tokens that have abilities I'd like to copy and populate, etc., etc. Next up, Pillated? Provisioner? I don't know why I'm struggling on that word. A 3/4 bird scout with flying for 5 mana in white. When enters, get a counter target creature control without flying. Very limited card. Next up, Reptilian Recruiter, 4/2 Lizard Warrior with trample for 5 mana in red. Enters to target creature if that creature's power is 2 or less. Or if you control another lizard, gain control of that creature till have turn, untap it, gains haste till have turn. Interesting. I mean, it's kind of like that one pirate one, but yeah, like different because it doesn't just gain control of any kind of creature. So yeah, like a threatened deck might want to consider this, or I guess lizard tribal, changeling tribal, but I guess changeling tribal definitely could. But yeah, again, it's only small creatures. So there you go. Next up, Rust Shield Rampager, 4/4 Raccoon Warrior with Offspring 2 for 4 mana in green. This creature can be blocked creature's power 2 or less. I mean, again, it's just 5 power across 2 bodies for 6 mana. Not all that great. Only somewhat unblockable. Next up, Thornpoint Intimidator, 4/3 Ret Rogue for 4 mana in black. Offspring 3. When this creature enters, target opponent loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discards a card. Like a miniature Torment of Hellfire, I guess. An ETB deck could consider it potentially, I guess, or one again that can populate that token. Outside of that, it's pretty specific. Next up, Uncharted Haven. Enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color. Tap at 1 mana the chosen color. If you really care about fixing in your deck, I guess like if you have a commander like, let's say, like Child of Alara at 99 lands. If you've got a commander that's like, okay, I just really need to get my commander out on time, cool. You can utilize these types of cards if you don't care about like other types of fixing. It's very rare that you have a deck that's like exactly like that, though, obviously. Like my first thought was Child of Alara. It's like, oh yeah, 99 land Child of Alara. All right, you hit whatever, you know, color you don't have, and you say that, and then cool. All right. But other than that, it seems more like a limited card. Next up, Valleycaller, a 1/1 Frog Warrior, trample for a single green mana. When another frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrel you control enters, get a counter on this. I mean, I think we've seen this before basically in like humans and elves. I think like a similar card. This one has trample as well. And yeah, I mean, I guess if you're playing in any of these kind of tribes, cool. It's a great lowly ground creature that can become quite large. That being said, if you're not playing in these or a combination of them or changelings, no. Moving on. Warsqueak, what a cute name. Aura for a single red mana enchant creature enters. Target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn. +1 in haste. Somewhat similar to some other like +1 or just like or 1 mana hasty effects essentially, but like Dragon Mantle. No, Dragon Mantle doesn't give haste. That gives fire breathing. There are other like low the ground auras though that are somewhat similar to this one. Being able to make a creature not be able to block is quite interesting and quite nice. Being able to say like, okay, yeah, I get this on my creature. Also, it can swing right away, and your creature can't block. So, yeah, if your opponent has only 1 creature, you don't want it to block with a certain creature. Cool. Aura's deck might want to consider it. If you need those low-the-ground hasty effects, then yes. If not, no. And Warren Elder, 2/2 Rabbit Cleric for 2 mana. It's busted! Infinite mana wins you the game. No, I mean, it could potentially, but not really. It's not busted at all. Yeah, basically 3 and a white. Creature controller +1 until end of turn. Obviously, has a repeatable effect. It's a good amount of mana to have to pay into that to actually get that effect. Yeah, I mean, like, you're paying 8 mana to get +2/+2, and typically if you're giving, like, +2/+2 to your creatures, like, just as a one-off effect, it'll cost you, what, like, 3 mana, maybe? Maybe 4? And also Anthems are out there that are much more efficient. Like, if you just play Heliod's, not Heliod's Anthem, whichever one that is you flash it in, it's Heliod's something intervention. +2/+2 to your creatures, Anthem for 5 mana in total, and this 2 extra just get +1 once, cost you 6. Yeah, more of a limited card, it seems like. Next up, here we go. Okay, Wizards, you messed up. See, this time I didn't mess up. I said the right words. Okay, everyone messes up. Everyone makes mistakes. I'd like to get an explanation because I don't understand. Number 1, well, first off, you didn't mess up because of this, but like this reminds me of Blitzball and Final Fantasy. Anyways, a 1/3 Otter Wizard for 1 and a blue. Let's go Aurochs. I think that was them, right? I think it was the Zendikar. Or no, it was the Abes. Was Zendikar Abes? Eh, whatever. Anyways, for 1 and a blue. Haven't played the game in a long time. My favorite Final Fantasy, though, actually. I do love 10. I don't know why. It's just my favorite. And I did go through Blitzball, and I beat it all. Okay, I beat all the Blitzball. I won that. Good for me. Yay! I put too much time in that. Vigilance. Prowess. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. I was so excited for this commander because anytime I see a Merfolk Looter commander, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Love that. Love being able to be like, okay, let's untap this and get some extra value out of it. Then there's this last part. Pay 2, tap, copy target, instant sorcery spell you control. Why, Wizards? Oh, wait, there's more. So wait, here we go. You may choose your targets for the copy. Active only if its power is 3 or greater. We already had one of these, Wizards. You already did this. You just did this. You did this like 2 sets ago. Do your teams not talk? Do they not talk at all? Just have very separate things and be like, wow, that's unique. That's unique too. And not that you can't have similar commanders, but like literally within months of each other, back to back, Stella Lee. This is just Stella Lee, but like slightly worse. Because basically, Stella Lee combos with a ham sandwich because essentially that last part is just Stella Lee's ability. You don't have to pay the 2 though. And you gotta like cast 2 other spells in the turn, sure, whatever. That's easy to do, obviously. That can go infinite with a ham sandwich, essentially. Again, like Cerulean Wisps. Okay, cool, it goes infinite. All right, you draw your deck. Good for you. This does not. That doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of ways to go infinite with it too, or just at the very least, just be like, oh, okay, cool. I cast an extra turn spell. I copy it. I win. I mean, you don't win automatically, but you most likely will win by doing that, even just once. And what kind of requirement is power 3 or greater? Prowess. Okay, cool. I cast 1 non-creature spell, which would be an instant sorcery, which is one of the spells I want to copy. All I have to do is either cast 1 other spell on the turn or like have the tiniest little pump effect on this, just +1/+0 even would do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's nothing. That literally doesn't mean anything on the card. The only thing that's holding this card back from just being another Stella Lee is literally that this has pay 2 tap. That being said, of course, there are ways to utilize that still in infinite ways. I'm not trying to just completely tear in this card right now again. It's just like, it's very weird when we do have, and I was reading, I was like, this can't be right. This can't be right because we just had one of these. I must be misreading it somehow as if it's not just Stella Lee the second, but it is. Just Stella Lee the second, slightly worse. So, I don't know, Wizard. I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand. Did you run out of ideas? Is this literally the point where you ran out of ideas? You're like, well, what do we do? I don't know, just take like that card that we just made that, you know, the kids like these days, I think is popular or whatever, and just make another one. I mean, I guess this is like years in advance when you're actually, you know, designing these still, but are your teams not talking? Are they not talking? I don't know. Okay, regardless, if you do want to build around this and do some crazy things, stay tuned. Let's talk about those. So, first up, and most obviously, Dramatic Reversal. This combos with a lot of things, but now this is another basically 1-card combo with this commander, though it technically isn't a 1-card combo. Dramatic Reversal, an instant for 2 mana. In blue, untap all non-land permanents you control. Very simple, very effective. All you need to do is literally have your commander have like +1 power for any reason. Literally, you just like cast another non-creature spell that turn. You've got an equipment on it, whatever you've got, okay? And then you cast this, and as long as you have like 3 mana out of mana rocks in play, you win. You just win. I mean, don't win because you need to like do other things to win, but you have infinite mana. Super easy, super effective, because yeah, you just need to cast this, copy it, and then all of a sudden, oh, it untaps my commander, or it untaps my mana rocks. I'll tap those again, tap my commander again, copy it again. You just keep copying the card while it's on the stack with the copies. Those untap everything. Rinse and repeat, you do it again, infinite mana. Do you have any kind of, like, I mean, I guess if you have Tim in play, like the Prodigal Sorcerer or whatever it is, you win. You just ping everyone gone. But, I mean, that's probably not how you're going to do it, but maybe. Anyways, it's kind of obnoxious. So, there you go. Next up, we've got Breaking Wave. We'll talk about some creatures here in a little bit, but, yeah. You can also go infinite with this commander with ones that untap all your creatures specifically. Sorcerer for mana. You can also flash it in if you pay 2 more, really? Sure, cool. Simultaneously untap all tapped creatures and tap all untapped creatures. So if you got some creatures that maybe can produce some mana like some Mandorks, cool. Keep in mind this does actually infinitely tap and untap your opponent's creatures. And when I say infinitely, it's fine. Okay, 1 trillion times, whatever rules lawyers out there, okay? 1 trillion times. But yeah, you infinitely untap everyone's creature. So if one other player out there had a mana dork, they get infinite mana too. Though it is, on your turn, so they can't sorcery speed cast things. But if they have instants, they can do things. Or if they've got any creatures that have tap abilities as well. That being said, yeah, this is a great way to just go infinite with this commander very easily, very effectively. Turnabout, even more easy though. Instant for 4 mana, choose artifact, creature, or land. Tap all untap permanents of the chosen type target player controls, or untap all tap permanents of the type that player controls. This one's instant speed without having to pay 2 extra. You can, again, just untap. I guess you'd have to turn your commander into an artifact to be able to untap your mana rocks. But that being said, if you just had like mana dork creatures again, that would work with this. So yeah, there you go. If you got mana dorks, you got it. You got infinite mana. You're getting there. You win. Cool. So congratulations. Omen Hawker, a 1/1 Cephalid Advisor for a single blue mana. Tap to add colorless and a blue. Spend it only to activate abilities. Congratulations, your commander has an ability that costs 2. You tap this, you activate the ability. It copied the thing. Cool, it untaps, with dramatic reversal, whatever turnabout, any of those, essentially, this helps fill the need. So if you have a decent amount of mana dorks out there, which if you guys building around this deck and you want to do some combos with it, we'll definitely throw mana dorks in there too, on top of the mana rocks, because you can definitely combo again with those two things. Palladium Mirror. This is a 2/2 mirror for 3 mana. It taps for 2 mana. You understand why I'm talking about this. Omen Hawker, the exact same thing, essentially, except this. It has no restriction. You don't get a blue mana, but you don't have no restriction on just activating abilities with this, so it can be a great way to ramp. Next up, Bonesaw. I think that's a wrestler's name, isn't it? Or is that a wrestler's name like in a TV show? Bonesaw. Was that in Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, Bonesaw, an equipment for 0 mana. Equip creature gets +1/+0. Equip 1. Yeah, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of weird that its restriction is really weird. Like, Actville, if it's got 3 power, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be casting the spell that I want to copy for one of that power because of the prowess. And the other one's either I cast another spell or I just equip an equipment like this, which is very simple. Or like with this is a non-creature spell, so cast this for 0. That counts as a spell, right, for your non-creature spell for prowess. So +1/+1 to your commander. Cast your instant sorcery spell, like dramatic reverse, whatever you want. Copy that one. You get there quite quickly with this. Thran Power Suit, though, another one, equipment for 2. +1 for each, or an equipment attached to it has ward 2. So this one, yeah, I mean, you could equip. It's a nice way to protect your commander a little bit, that ward 2, to help protect it from your opponents. So it can really kind of save your combos in some ways. And also, again, just needs literally that +1. That's all it needs, is just to be like, okay, you don't have to worry about casting anything else except for the card that you actually want to combo with. Next up, though, Amanatu's Augury. Yeah, you don't have to go, like, combo infinite mana. You can just go, I cast really big things, and then all of a sudden I copy those big things, and I do crazy things with them. Amanatu's Augury, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may play a land card from among them on the battlefield. Till end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast a card of the type of paying its mana cost, essentially. So, 8 mana, cast a ton of things off the top of your library, copy this, get even more crazy things, and if you happen to hit some of those untapped things, there you go. Even more fun times to be had. Next up, Thought Reflection. This commander is a loot commander. Whenever I see a loot commander, I'm like, this card. Thought Reflection, chip for 7 mana. If you draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Now, instead of just being at parity, right, again, tap, draw, discard. That is what Merfolk Looter, like the original Looter, essentially, or the one that's got the name after, is. So, cool. You tap, you draw 1, you discard 1, you're in the same spot, but you have a slightly different hand, right? You got rid of 1 card that you didn't need. You kept a good card. Maybe, hopefully, right? That being said, if you can double up that draw, instead it's like, okay, you actually go up on card advantage. You draw 2, discard 1. You're up a card from where you were. So yeah, this can be a very effective card for this. Next up, Intellectual Offering. This one's actually quite funny in how it can work. And it's $1.95, unfortunately. Nah, that's on my budget. But this one can combo with this commander as well. Instant for 5 mana in blue. Choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. There is no may. You both must draw. Choose an opponent, untap all non-land permanents you control and all non-land permanents that player controls. So being able to do this, again, like Dramatic Reversal, essentially infinitely untap and tap all your non-land permanents when you've got things going. Again, once you have enough, mana rocks in play or whatnot. On top of that, again, forced draws. Funny. So essentially, you are going to be drawing your entire deck, essentially, with this. You're going to need to find ways to not lose off of that. Like, there are ways, obviously. You could, shuffle your hand and graveyard in your library, draw 7. That being said, your opponents might not be as lucky to be able to do that, so you can actually just mill them out and force them to lose. I mean, you are kind of giving them more resources, but if they're tapped out, they're in trouble. I guess, again, this does untap their mana rocks, so do keep that in mind, that you are giving them potentially, not infinite, but, near infinite mana, whatever it's going to be. And then you're choosing the opponents, so, if one player's playing green, you're like, I'll pick you, because you don't have any mana rocks in play. So there you go. It's interesting because it's better and worse than Dramatic Reversal depending on the situation, depending on how you're playing it. Next up, Training Grounds. Enchant for a single blue mana. Activate abilities of creature control cost 2 less to activate. Can't reduce less than 1 mana. If it could, it would just turn your commander into Stella Lee. It is not. It is still an amazing card for this commander, though. It reduces your commander's cost by 1 for the activate ability. So now it just costs 1 to tap that commander to do that ability. So even if you're not going infinite, that's still a lot of extra value for you throughout the game. Next up, Time Warp. Yeah, extra turn spells are crazy good with this kind of a commander, because all you need to do is literally just oh, okay, I cast this. Oh, it's on the stack. I pay 2 and copy it. Okay. I get an extra turn of this one. And then another one. Okay, next turn. All right, I'll play a card. I bring this back from my graveyard to my hand. Okay, I'm doing it again. Yeah, you can win very easily with an extra combat kind of build, or extra turn kind of build a commander like this that can copy your spell, so do keep that in mind. Expropriate, and also keep in mind that some players don't like to play against that, so probably ask your playgroup first before you're like, I'm playing Solitaire. I've learned the hard way when I was, a little bit younger, that Joyra Artifact Storm Solitaire, when you're playing 30 minutes on a turn on your own, isn't exactly what most players want to play against. So ask your player first. Expropriate. Card that just wins you the game normally on its own, but hey, if you want to go over the top with it. Source for 9 mana in total. Start with you. Each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra of this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile it. If you're on the other side of this card, almost always, literally, unless you have like Blightsteel Colossus in play, choose for money. Give them something. Do not give them an extra turn. Regardless, it won't matter most likely. If you literally cast this with this commander and copy it, you're like, okay, cool. I get 2 extra turns, at least, and I get to steal probably 6 permanents. So I probably just win from there. Next up, Lobas for Boots, a newer card-ish. Actually, newer. I mean, it's from the Stella Lee area, right? Era. Equipment for 1. A creature gets +1/+0. It has haste and ward 1. I don't know why Outlaws of Thunder Junction just slipped through my mind. That's why I said, like, from the Stella Lee era. Yes, Outlaws. Okay, so again, +1/+0, that's all you care about is that little +1. That's all you care about, again, because now it makes whenever you're casting that spell you want to combo with or whatever, you get to copy it, okay? Ward 1 as well, a nice little protection for you as well. It's not perfect, but it is protection. Shuko, card exploded in price. Thank you, Nadu. Shuko, equip for 1. Equip creature gets +1/+0. Equip for 0. So, this one's kind of like the opposite of Bonesaw, which I talked about earlier. Bonesaw. This one, obviously, it's still very easy to, again, prowess with this. Like, okay, I paid 1. I played this. Cool, I got +1/+0. But also, or +1/+1, I should say. But also, if your commander is dealt with, you can just, like, reattach this for free every single time, which is quite nice. So you just essentially set your commander up to always be able to activate when you need to be able to activate. So definitely keep that in mind. But now this episode is coming to a close. It's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts on this commander are and the rest of the cards. Let me know what your thoughts are on the cards that I brought up with this commander. I mean, there are differences with Stella Lee, right? You could still do some Stella Lee type things, and you don't have to go in that direction at all. And I understand it's not as broken as Stella Lee. It definitely isn't. It can still be broken with the right build. It just was very odd to me, again, that, like, we just got Stella Lee, and then a couple of months later, we just get basically a copy of it that's just slightly worse. Slightly different, slightly worse. And it's just kind of weird. Again, I kept thinking, like, I have to be reading this. It can't just be the exact same commander, and it basically is. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts around all this in the comments below. Check out that card list link in the description below. And, of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.